Hello everyone, my name is Frankie and I'm a grateful recovered alcoholic. Bear with me because I am a crier and I'm not scared to do that. And just want to thank Gabe for that introduction and Kenny for your words as well. And thank you for asking me to speak. I'm just happy, honored, and humbled to be here to do this. And when Kenny asks, it's really volunteering, so just to let you know, in case he asks. So that's kind of how it works. But yeah, so a little over a year ago, I walked into this room for the first time. And as Gabe likes to say, the majority of us when we walk in here, we are not on a winning streak. And I certainly wasn't. I was unemployed, facing charges, struggling in a marriage, but it was getting better until then. And, just really lost and didn't have anywhere to go. Like I couldn't do it anymore on my own, I had no idea like what to do. Like everything that I thought I knew and could work for, it was just gone, and was finally at the end of myself and had the gift of desperation. And I did something that day for the first time that I hadn't done in a long time. I asked somebody for help. I really did, and it was Travis's, as Gabe alluded to. But first we have to go back to how we got to that day. And so, I grew up in a little town north of here called Stanton. It's between Midland and Big Spring, which in other words is in the middle of nowhere. And just cotton fields all around. We were blessed for a long time to be in one of those dry counties. So going to get booze was always an adventure. So it was always a fun time to go to the liquor store when you were a kid because Uncle Charlie gave us gum. And so, back then you could go in liquor stores and do all kinds of stuff. So I always wanted to go when we went on those trips. And my parents are here and they're still together, married 45 glorious years, as my dad likes to say. And actually they just celebrated that anniversary a few weeks back. So, but great parents, Dad always worked, his tail off, and I always joked I didn't meet him until I was in first grade because he worked so much. And, Mom was always there. We always had food, roof over our head. So just, did the best they could and had us in church. And, he's an ex-Marine, so plenty of discipline growing up. And so, they did their part. It's just as we get a little older, we get a little crazy and kind of go off and have to find our own way in this world. So just glad that they're here and just have their love and support. So, we have a lot of family there in Stanton, and growing up, we always had a lot of get-togethers, and of course, big families, lots of food, lots of drinking and stuff, and my grandmother, she used to drink wine coolers, those Seagram 7s, those little green bottles back in the day, and I was probably about 4 or 5, and I'd always run up and get a drink, and she started to notice that those drinks were getting a little longer, and she finally had to stop. So at 4 years old, the bartender was already cutting me off. So, I don't know if it was just the sweetness or what, but, it's just foreshadowing of what was to come later on. But so I just went to school. We moved around a bit, kind of went to a few different schools. And when high school came around, I wanted to go to school in Stanton, kind of just where I grew up for the most part, a lot of my friends. And played sports my freshman year, but, believe it or not, back then I weighed about 130 pounds. And so, I didn't have much of a future in playing sports, but I did have a future in drinking and partying. And so that's what I decided to focus on after that. And so me and my friends, we were well known as the go-to group for partying. Like the seniors would come to us when we were freshmen and sophomores because we were the people to have a good time with. And just started like typical things on the weekend and stuff. And then, sometimes we would drink at lunch. And, I remember, I think it was my junior year, we had prom, and it was there towards the end. Like the next week we had finals. And back then you could take, it took like 3 a day, and you had to be at least in class for an hour. Well, I had one at 8 in the morning, and then I had one to like 2 in the afternoon. Well, we still had a cooler full. Well, I got so hammered in those 3 or 4 hours I couldn't make my final exam. And somehow, some way, I sweet-talked my way into getting the makeup and made it. So I was like, well, maybe I can start to talk my way out of some of this stuff. And, graduated, went to work, had to, save up to get a car to get back and forth to go to school. And finally, after a year off, I went to school, and college, just Midland College, and I decided to take spring break a week early, and they're still waiting on me to go back. So it just really got into, that was just life at that point. It was just partying. I mean, we worked, we partied, and just kind of grew up where we worked hard and we played hard, and that was life. And I was okay with it because I was young. I didn't have at that particular time any desire to get married or have a relationship. I just wanted to have fun and just continue to do those things because I was young and that's what we could do. And I did it quite for a long time. And so I was about 19 when I started in the oil field and roustaboutting. And so this was 2000, 2001, and I was working with my uncle who's here as well, and to kind of show how this stuff kind of runs in the family. I won't say too much, but he was in like a court order rehab, and he got me a job with him, but he was having to go through rehab and court order, and he was able to go out for work, but he had to be back at a certain time. But we were working together, and me and the other guy were drinking at work while he's trying to get sobered up. We didn't have, at the time it was like, well, that's his issue, right? Not mine. I mean, so kind of insensitive, selfish, what this book will tell you about our disease, selfishness, self-centeredness. And so, by the grace of God, he got through it, and he's 22 years sober and still going strong. But I think back on those things and I realized, just how selfish I was. It was always about what I wanted and, or what I was going to do, and didn't really care much about others, as long as, I always thought I was a pretty good guy, but then you get to thinking about, well, I might be a good guy, but compared to what? So kind of get to know that now. But so right away, starting the oil field, drinking at work's kind of a normal thing. There were days where we just rode around and drank all day. We didn't even work. And, so every day after work, we'd go to the beer store, and that was just kind of what we did, and just started working. And then just kind of bounced around from jobs after that, different companies. I had a cousin who was a contractor. We go do roofs, remodels. We're drinking during the day. So it just became a habit to where that's all that we did. Everything that I did was work. Started to learn, started to like to play golf. That's the same thing, just everything I did, I always had beer with me. And it's just hard. It's funny to think, it's just weird to think about because it's like I couldn't do anything without it, because I guess, I used to suffer, but I didn't really tell anybody, but I guess I had anxiety a lot and didn't really know what it was at the time. I just know that sometimes when I get around people and stuff, I just feel like my skin crawl, kind of like the cartoons are just kind of vibrating. And that was just a way to kind of help take the edge off. And so, like I said, we like the way it makes us feel. And so that's what, so that's how I coped with everything. And then it just became a habit. It was just like, well, I'm bored and this is what I'm going to do. And, I'm one of those people that I could drink by myself alone in a room, didn't need nobody, just my good old music and stuff, because in my mind I lived out all those songs and all those adventures, and that's what kept me company. And that's just kind of what my life was. So all through my 20s through my early 20s was just that. My brother gives me a hard time. He's like, how did you barely have a job, but you always had money to play golf and drink beers? I don't know. It's just lucky, I guess. And so about 23, 24 years old, I started a job in the chemical business in the oil field. And about that time, I was like, well, I'm getting a little older. I kind of got to settle down a little bit and start to get something. I can't live with mommy and daddy forever. So I started to okay, I got to do this, right? And of course, so what I was doing was I was putting a career or just a job in the future as kind of what was going to keep me on the straight and narrow. And it worked for a while. I was at that place for 5.5 years, and I started driving the truck, moved up to delivery, then to service tech, and then to basically an account manager in about 5.5 years. And it was a great place, and man, I learned a lot. Had a bunch of good guys, but there were plenty of times that I showed up there wasted in the morning, having to haul hazardous cargo, and I was just praying to God weigh stations were closed, and I'm pulling over on the side of the road hurling because I'm sat sick in the morning, and but that's what I did, and it was just part of the process of drinking. That's how much I would drink, and that was just Tuesday for me. It wasn't a Friday, Saturday deal. It was Tuesday, Monday, Wednesday, and so was there for 5.5 years, and then my supervisor at the time, he decided he was going to branch off and start his own company, and he asked me to go with him. And there was about 8 of us that left and started this new company. And it was hard. It was rough work. We're doing all kinds of stuff, and we're working a lot of hours. And about that time, about a year into it, it was getting pretty overwhelming for a lot of us. And just as companies grow and stuff happens, so other people come in, and then started getting a little bit angry and resentful about why these other people are coming in and I'm here from the beginning, and not getting moved up or whatever, because in my mind, I should have this or that, right? Because I think I deserve it, right? And so started kind of getting in a bad place, and just at work, and when you start to become angry and resentful, it kind of carries on into all areas of your life. And so we had our Christmas party, and things did not go well for a number of reasons, and wasn't anything that I particularly said or did, but they asked my opinion, and so they asked, and I kind of let them know what I thought, and it wasn't very good. And so basically I told them, it's the holidays. I'm going to stick around because these guys got families. I'm not going to jeopardize that for them, but maybe at the first of the year, I'm probably not going to be here. And that was on a Thursday. Well, Saturday, I go out. We're celebrating my friend's birthday and his girlfriend's birthday. They're about 2 days apart, and just a lot of stuff going on in my personal life that, just partied a lot, drank a lot, and was trying to maybe settle down, trying to meet a girl or anything like that. And there was a couple, and it just didn't work out for various reasons. So I'm mad at the job, mad at life. We go out. I had to work that Saturday, and we went out, and so we go to this one place, and then there's one of the girls that's there, and just start jabbing me, right? Then we go to another place, and there's the other one, and she starts in, and just angry, drunk. You don't really control your emotions that well, right? So I'm like, you know what? I'm out of here. So I get in my car, and I'm leaving, and I'm driving. I'm crossing the railroad tracks. This is in Midland, and there's one car coming, right? I'm like, what are the chances that's a cop? Can't be a cop, right? So I slammed it into third gear, hit the gas. It was a cop. Yeah. The one car on the road, And so that was my first DWI. And so go to jail. And I want to talk about irony. I got pulled over right in front of the yard where I work. Right there. So it's just it's nuts. And so, I just have enough time to text my friend, hey man, I'm getting pulled over, going to jail, let my parents know, I'll be out whenever. And so, go to jail and all that stuff. And I wake up the next morning, and they're in the drunk tank. And I don't know if any of y'all have been to jail before, but I'm sure maybe, kind of us kind of go there. But a lot of those guys should be pre-law, man, because they were asking my charges, and they were going to tell me what I was going to have and what I was going to get. And I was like, man, these guys are pretty sharp. I might have to get them on retainer. And so I was like, well, man, that doesn't sound like a bad deal, I think this ain't the end of the world, because, in my line of work, you need your license. We drive company trucks, and we have that on our record that they can't insure you to cover for the commercial costs. So I just had this big blow up at work. Just got this DWI. Got my Suedo lawyers in here telling me what it is, and I'm like, okay. So I'm here. I'm like, man, if I have to go back to Rustabout or doing this, I'll be all right. It's no big deal. So I get out, go get my car out of impound, and where they impounded it, I had to leave and drive right by where I got pulled over, right in front of our office. And I look in the gate, and there's my boss's truck. And I'm like, well, shit, might as well get this over with, right? So I went to go get gas, and anyways, I went back, but his truck was there, but he wasn't, and he was out in the field doing some stuff. And so I just told him, like, hey man, just letting you know, I just got out of jail, got arrested for DWI. He goes, were you in your company truck? I was like, no sir. And he's all like, I go, I know you're probably gonna need to let me go, and things aren't good anyway, so I'll be here tomorrow or Monday, whenever you want. I'll turn my stuff in. He's like, well, he goes, nobody's getting fired yet. Just come in Monday and we'll talk. So we came in Monday, and like I said, I had been working with this gentleman for about, at this point, was 6.5, 7 years, and I was his service tech, and he kind of trained me a lot and brought me up into the business. So we had a pretty good relationship just there towards the end, when just me being my selfish person, thinking I deserve all this stuff, and he showed class and grace, and he goes, I'm going to keep you on. He's like, we'll do what we got to do. He goes, I'll cover your lawyer. He goes, we need to do better and make it right. It's like, man, was not expecting that after having a big blow up with the man on the phone, and he kept me, and I still had a job. Well, about a week later, I'm starting to kind of get back into myself, and things are like this and that, and I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe he's just keeping me on to make himself look good, And maybe now he's kind of got me by the so he can kind of make me do all the dirty work, because I'm an insane person now, right? Because I got this problem, and it's all about me, and surely there's not people out there with good intentions and a good heart, right? Because somewhere along the way I lost that. I didn't think people could be that way, because you just think that everybody's out for themselves, because I certainly was, right? And I was the type of person that was gonna take inventory on you and keep marks of when I could throw it back in your face, right? Because people had done that to me, so I was going to do it to you. And so he heard that, obviously, and we had another knockout drag out about 2 weeks after this, and he still kept me on. So yeah, and so from that arrest to the time I got off probation was about 23 months, but in that time, I had to, kind of learn, kind of control myself as best I could, which I did pretty good for about a month after I got arrested. And, it was early December, and I was like, I just got to, I'm going to be on probation. I know I'm not going to be able to drink, so I just kind of better start now and kind of get it over with. And, well, after about a month, I'm like, well, I ain't going to court for a while. And, might as well have fun until that point. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to drink any beer, right? Because, I drink a lot of beer. Maybe I'll just open up some Jack Daniels, and I'll just have a couple, and I'll be all right. Well, all I remember is I opened up that bottle, and the Patriots were playing, and then it was time to go to work. And I don't really remember much about that. So that's kind of our our go-to, right? I had 4 weeks off and decided to hit the heavy stuff and make up for that lost time. And then that kind of became normal after that. Wherever I would take time off, it would just come back just harder and heavier, And of course, I didn't know this at the time. We'll kind of get to that point once we get in this book and how it describes this. But yeah, it was just insane. And so I got that deferred pretrial diversion on that one. So it was going to show an arrest, but not a conviction, as long as I did my probation and everything that was asked of me. And so I did all that. And about that time, I was like, I'm 29. I'm like, well, I just turned 30 actually, like a month after that. So, I'm 30. Okay, I really got to get my crap together now. So I started to focus. Kind of got back into church, going back to church. I grew up in church. Was very active. Grew up Catholic, and it's kind of I won't get into it too much, but once I made my confirmation, I was about 16. It was kind of like I wasn't involved anymore. So I thought I graduated. I thought, all right, I'm good to go, right? I don't need to work this out. I've done all I had to do. And so I kind of got away from that, obviously. And so I was like, well, I'm going to start going back. And I did, and taking these classes, and I'm like, I was like, where would you like to see yourself in 12 months? So now I'm thinking all right, well, I'd like to have maybe a house and this and that. And so I kind of put it down as goals, right? And again, I'm starting to put worldly things into something that needs to kind of fix me. But that was my focus, so that's kind of what I was focusing on once I got through that. And like I said, so I was just about to be 31 by the time that come off of that, and same job, just doing well, doing better, still drinking, but maybe not quite as much as I was, but not as much as I would like, but more than I should. It's kind of how we roll. And I ended up getting a house built, and moved to Millen, moved from Stanton to where I was living and stuff, and probably 6 months after that, I got set up with a girl who ended up becoming my wife. And so things were good, and I was doing well, and I'll be honest, we got set up on a blind date, and we met in a bar, and I just told her, it's like, I'll be honest with you, like, I just got 2 bad habits. Like, I play golf and I drink beer, and I don't do it all day. I don't do it all the time, but I do it all day, and that's true. So, and but like I said, I wasn't quite as bad as it got there towards the end. But and so as when we're working and kind of moving up in the company and kind of become an area manager and stuff, and so part of that part is you get to entertain customers, and any of you that's in the oil patch, basically that means you go drinking, and that's what we did. So like, they gave us, we have these company cards, right, and it's just like, boss is like, just be safe, be careful, what to do, like if we have any questions, we'll let you know. Well, I was working in Andrews County at the time, which was another one of those dry counties, and so the superintendent out there, I became his delivery guy. So he was just like, "You coming out today?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "What do you need?" That's all that meant. And so we'd take it out there, and that's what we did. We'd sit there watching rigs and drink beer and all kinds of other stuff, and shoots, golf tournaments, all kinds of stuff. And so, like I said, from all the time I got in, this was just normal. Like none of this seemed like it was out of the ordinary for me, because everybody does this, right? So, in my way of thinking, everybody does it. That's what we do. And so, it didn't really, like I said, to me, it wasn't anything different. So, just started working there, and about a little over 5 years ago, we decided to move over here, and it was late 2019, and we got here, and about that time, COVID hit, and we didn't really get a chance to meet a whole lot of people and stuff, and we have no family that lives here, and so when you can't really go anywhere and you're kind of stuck to your own self, you're going to kind of go to your devices, and that's when things started getting really bad for me. I got our house, it has a shop, and so that became what I like to call Can2 Cantina, and it had a bar, and it has a bar in there, and still has a bar, but it's not stocked anymore. So that became, that was my hideaway. And like I said, I didn't need any company to drink, so that's what I did. I was relaying the story. I remember I came home one day, and it was like 3:00, and I'm just sitting there in the shop, and it's like, I'm just drinking water, eating sunflower seeds. And, it was a good day, nothing wrong. And it's like, then it was like, I looked up, it was 6, and I was like, well, it's too early to go in, take a shower, and go to sleep. I'm gonna have 1 or 2 and take a shower and go to bed. And, midnight, and not a beer later, I'm going to bed. And then that just became normal. That was every day. And so that previous job I was at, where I had that boss that kind of kept me and all that stuff, things were starting to go south there again. I'd been there 9.5 years, and just getting angry and resentful again, and just the way things were going, and just not very happy. And we were day drinking one day, and my supervisors, the big bosses, they had a meeting with one of our customers, and I know a lot of us, we have a problem with authority, and I certainly do and still do. And so my bosses are, having to go to the customer, and the customer is kind of basically dictating how we should do business, which I don't, whatever. That's just how I thought at the time. It is what it is, but I didn't like what they were doing. And so I was hammered, and I called up, I was like, hey, what's going on? And he told me, and I was like, man, this is blah, 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 blue, 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 insert 4-letter word here, and this is yada, yada. And he's like, man, ain't nothing we can do. This is what they want. This is all we can do. So I drive home, and then I call my district manager and told him, I goes, hey, you going to be at the yard in the morning? He's like, nah, I got to go over here. And I was like, well, I'm going to be there in the morning. You need to be there because we need to talk. And, because I'm dictating things, right, because I'm the boss, and obviously I'm not. But so, anywho, long story short, I just decided, he called me the next morning, and apparently he didn't have to go do what he said he had to do. He just told me that either I could either because this is what we're going to do, or we can go to San Angelo and pick your truck up. I said, come get it. And didn't ask her, didn't, just unilaterally making decisions because I think I know what's best. And, just straight up quit my job with nothing planned, no plan whatsoever because, they hurt my pride and my ego. And I'm just, just the type of person that's going to do what he wants to do when he does it. And that's exactly what I did. And so they came and got it. And so I didn't have a job. And I was like, oh, crap, what am I going to do now? And obviously I'm not going to tuck my tail between my legs and go back, right? I can't do that. I can't show them that I messed up, that I made a mistake. And so just kind of sat at home for about 2 or 3 days. And, of course, people are calling me because they hear this. And just by the grace of God, I got a phone call and there's a position that opened up and basically kind of doing the same thing and started working there. And we're working out of Sonora and kind of working on the Rocker Bee Ranch, which is really in the middle of nowhere. And so we're part of the Wild West. So we're a satellite yard over here. And man, it was Wild West for 2 years. I mean, we partied all the time. We played golf all the time. And she'll tell you this is where it just went off the rails for me. Like I was coming home barely standing sometimes, and you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. From across the room, like, yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, don't smell me, and just constantly lying and being dishonest and just being that selfish person that I want to be because I want to do what I want, when I want, how I want, and it just started getting rough in the course of, and some other things, but and then things just weren't going good, and that's a lot of it was on me because I'm the type of person that didn't want to deal with my problems or my issues. How I dealt with it was drinking. And I figured that if I avoided them long enough that maybe they would just kind of sideswipe me by and I wouldn't have to deal with them. But as we come to figure and find out that the more you push them off, the bigger they get. And when you eventually hit the wall, it's pretty damn hard. And we can't outrun them forever. We got to pay the piper at all these costs. And so at some point, and there were... she's always been a woman of faith and of God, and really involved in that. And me, I wasn't like I should have been, and so we kind of started going to church, and we joined a marriage Bible study. And so this is how God works, right? He was putting people in my life right about that time to help me for what was coming. We went to a marriage Bible study, and we got set at Travis Griffith's table, and that's how I got to know him. And we were there's a lot of us, and he's real friendly, real good guy, him and his wife, and they invited us over to their house, and we met with them a couple of times. They were just really good people. And so about this time, I'm just drinking beyond, more than anybody should. And so one Saturday, I was supposed to go meet some friends at a bar. And I go, and I'm walking out of one about 3.5, like the second bar we went to, about 3.5 hours later. And I'm in my work truck, and I get pulled over. And there's my second DWI. And I'm like, oh crap, I can't get out of this one, I'm in the company truck. There's no way that they can they can save me on this. And so go to Tom Green Gray Bar Motel, and I'm sitting in there, and they booked me, and they asked me if I would be all right if I could be by myself. I was like, oh yeah, man, yeah, I'll be by myself, put me in there. And so I was in there by myself, and finally, for the first time in a long time, I was like, God, I can't do this anymore. Like, there's no coming back from this. I know I'm getting fired, right? And the whole time, like, all this drinking's going on and all this work, I became a pretty miserable person to be around. And a lot of it was because I was angry and mad at the world for a lot of various reasons. Honestly, like, I just really wasn't looking forward to the next 30 years of my life. I was 42, and I'm like, I'm so over this crap. I don't know how the hell I'm going to do this. So I was just kind of at the point where I didn't give a damn, and I didn't, and my actions showed that. And so finally, I'm sitting there in jail, and I realized then and there that I can't do this anymore. I'm at that jumping off point, the desperation point that this book talks about. And I just asked God, and it's like, God, like, if you take this from me, like, I'm going to do whatever I need to do to make it work and do right. And total 911 prayer, throwing that Hail Mary pass, right? And but I meant it. I really did. And so get out of jail, fired. Obviously, she's very disappointed and not real happy and not sure what our future is going to hold. And so we talked, and like I said, that's the first time that I finally asked someone for help. And so now we're here to that point where I reached out to Travis, and I didn't know what to do. Like, I wasn't going to have a job. There's nowhere I could go because of what I did. I didn't have a license. I wasn't going to have a license. I didn't hardly know anybody here. I knew that I had a problem, but I didn't know how to go about fixing it. And so I just reached out to him, and the first thing he asked me was, why were you in a bar? And I was like, well, that's kind of what I do. And then he asked me, well, do you think you have a problem? I'm like, I don't think I do, but every time I get in trouble or do something stupid, I'm usually hammered. He's like, well, it sounds like a problem to me. He's like, yeah, you're probably right. I couldn't admit it then, And so he goes, well, I know some people that work the AA program, and he goes, let me make some calls, and I'll get you in touch with somebody. And so at this point, Travis kind of just became my spiritual mentor and took me under his wing, and just a great man. And I'm so thankful for him because he helped me get in this room, just so grateful to have him. He's not one of us, but he's a champion of this program and what it can do, and because he's seen the results of some of us here, and we know him personally, and so grateful for him for that and love him. Chris, like Gabe said, Chris called me up and kind of basically told him the same thing, and he's like, well, you want to meet? And like I said, I did that 911 prayer, and I said, God, I'll do whatever I need to do. So I did. I came and met him, and best thing that ever happened to me was he gave me this book. We talked. He gave me this book, and I went home and read it. And doctor's opinion in the first 63 pages, and it was like, yep, that's me. Like, that is exactly me. I have that spiritual malady where I think I'm God, right? And so for the last 20-something years, I've been playing God, and look where it got me. And because, I said I couldn't do it anymore. All my ideas were were crashing and burning, trying to lie, manipulate my way into things. It wasn't working. Couldn't get myself out of this hole. It was like, digging a hole and then throwing the dirt back into the hole. That's all I was doing. I couldn't get out of this anymore. And so I came in here and met with Chris, and I read this, and I was like, this is 100% absolutely me. And so started working this program, and so for 2 months I was unemployed. I did not have a job, and I really had to learn how to kind of be comfortable with myself without drinking. I hadn't done that since I was 14 years old. I didn't know how to do so. And at this time, my wife, I went back to work, and she was working 12-hour shifts, so she was gone a lot too. And I'm stuck at home by myself. And but I'm working this program. I'm reading. I'm doing what my sponsor's asking me to do. And that's the second best thing I did, is once I asked for help, then I shut up and listened. And that's kind of key to this. I finally stopped trying to decide what I wanted to do and just listened. And so I was working this program, and just because we make that change and we want to do better doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight. So after my license went into suspension, my dad had a medical emergency. He went in for a regular checkup, and he had to get airlifted, and I couldn't go because I couldn't drive. And so, I'm going to go back to my first DWI. Just because I didn't have a license, it didn't mean I didn't drive and stop doing what I was doing, right? Because, I wasn't really scared of the consequences then. I drive to Dallas still, come back pretty loaded. And but this time, working this program and learning these steps, I was like, I got to do what this says and get right with my higher power, because there probably wasn't a second chance or a third chance coming my way. So I made decisions, and I had to suffer those consequences. And part of that was I didn't know what was going on with him, and I couldn't go, and I had to stay here, and that sucked. And so that was kind of like a real eye opener then too. Like, if you keep going down this path, you may be in a place where you can't leave at all. And because if you kind of keep going the way you're going, I know what lies ahead, right? Like I said, I was sitting in jail and asked God to take it from me, because I was at that fork in the road. Like, am I going to go down this way? Is this who I'm going to be? That 60-year-old guy that's working odds and ends and just drinking every day. And because it was quite possible, because that's where I was headed, or work this program, which I decided to do. And that was the first time that I really had to trust God with that. I called my sponsor. I called Travis and just kind of told him, hey man, so what's going on? Like what do I do? Like, well, just pray, focus, do this. And so I was sitting out in the backyard, and it was kind of like today, overcast, humid, muggy. And I just started praying and just asking God. And when I got done, I looked up to the sky, and clouds kind of parted and the sun shone through. And I was like, all right, he's going to be okay. And so right then and there, it's like I totally like, all right, I'm trusting God the whole rest of the way. And I did. And what was crazy is I had met Gabe, through this program. And actually, and Travis had, after our marriage Bible study at church had ended, he invited Catherine and I into his small group Bible study. And so I got to meet Gabe and some other folks that are here. And that just became a blessing to me as well. I got a spiritual family as well as a recovery family. But I got to know Gabe, and he was in a position to help out. And he set me up for an interview, and I went and interviewed, and I was able to get a job. And something totally I'd never done before. I've come from the oil patch, and I'm working in an office in a cubicle answering phones and doing stuff. And so after 2 months of being by myself, I'm starting to have to deal with people again. You talk about trying your patience. And I know we're supposed to be nice, but those Canadians, man, they still get me. So, for like 2 months, I felt that's where God was going to put me, where I needed to be, and that's exactly where I needed to be. I needed to learn how to work with others and be humbled and just trust that there are good people out there that actually want to help you and love you and just support you, and that was great, and I'm thankful for Gabe and Brian for that opportunity. I still love those guys. I still go by and visit those guys, every now and again. So I love that family there too. And so just working this program and these steps, that was a turning point. And the hardest thing was really step 3 was just totally trusting in God, because I know I was playing golf for so long that I couldn't do it anymore, and let's equate that to where people are, they're like, because I don't know exactly what that means, like just trusting and giving my life and will over, It's just getting out of the way and listening, and he's going to guide you and stuff. I mean, I was so scared of giving up control of something I couldn't control, right? I mean, I couldn't control my own life. I mean, couldn't control my drinking, couldn't control my attitude. I couldn't control nothing. And now this peace just came about me, that it's only possible through God. And so coming into this room and meet in these meetings and listening to these guys that have linked in time and worked this program, every one of them will sit here and tell you that it wasn't them, that it was God. It was their higher power. And I believe that because you hear them talk it, they walk it, they work this program, they do it, and I totally believe like that's it, that has to be it. And so I bought in and started working these steps, and we have to get down and get honest and get dirty about our past and what our actions are, and then so I go back to being angry and resentful, and that boss that did all that good stuff for me, and I was so mad at him all the time, and I have to go back and think, it's like, well, why was I so mad at him when I was the one showing up drunk to his house for Christmas parties and spilling drinks all over his floor? Maybe there's a reason he didn't promote me, because he couldn't trust me, right? But I couldn't see that at the time. Maybe there's just all that stuff that I had to look at the part that I played in it, and once we get to that part and you let it all out, man, it's just so free, and we're just happy, joyous, and free, and in that time, I was working, and I was still facing my court case, and I was kind of worried about like, well, am I going to get my license back or whatever? Because 20-something years in the oil field, that's kind of what I know. And so I met with the lawyer, and he just said, because they already offered you that diversion once, you're probably not going to get it again. And so I was like, okay, so at least for 3 years, I'm not going to have that opportunity. So I put it out of my mind and just, all right, we'll do what we can do. Get a phone call. They offered me 18 months deferred, just trusting, I'm going to let it. So I got a third chance, right? And then when that kind of came through and I got my license back, an opportunity presented itself to kind of get back in, and just working these steps and doing the next right thing and just being honest and thorough and doing these things. Opportunities are going to pop up, and it did. But unlike before, where I would unilaterally make those decisions and just quit on the whim and all that, I reached out to my sponsor, I reached out to Travis, I reached out to my wife, and just asked for their counsel and wisdom, because when I make decisions, stuff kind of goes south. I need a little bit of help here. And so they are all like, well, you just pray about it, think about it, and if God's calling you to do that, we'll be behind you. And so I thought about it and prayed about it, and I asked those guys, like, because I'll go back, but this is the only thing I asked is like, I still got to come make meetings, I still got to sponsor guys, I still got to go to my Bible studies. I'm not going to be yours 18 hours a day. And they're like, no problem. And they've held their word, and I have too, and still doing the things that I need to be doing, and so grateful. So that opportunity popped up, and things like that. And then in the meantime, I was a guy that spent all his time alone in his home bar, and like I said, Travis, he has a small group Bible study, and as he's kind of going through this busy season with his campaign, he asked me to help lead it for all his friends and close people that he's had years in relationship with, asking me to help lead, and and talk about being just caught off guard and humbled. And a year ago, I could tell you there's no way I'm doing that, and that's been a blessing just on my walk with God, and there's things that it's opened up, and and not everything's come back. There are things that I'm not able to do anymore, and are people that I probably just can't hang around anymore. But that's fine. I'm at peace with that. God's got a plan for me. I don't always know what that is, and and that's okay, because I trusted Him so far, and I'm able to be here, to kind of share my story and just kind of what this has done for me, because like I said, I walked in here a year ago like a lost puppy on the street corner. I didn't know where to go, didn't know where home was. And all I did was just shut up, listen, follow this book, and just got out of the way and let God take control. And so just grateful and humbled to be here. I just want to thank my family for being here, my spiritual family, my recovery family. Just thank y'all for all y'all guys that picked up a chip, and ladies. Just keep working this program, and things are going to come and just great things will happen. And I'll close that with a couple of things. But first thing is just remember this means anonymous. So y'all did not see me dressed like this. And then I'm going to read from this is off page 25 in the big book, and these are my 3 favorite paragraphs because I'm kind of an impatient person, and so I kind of like just give me the I need the cliff notes, right? So these 3 paragraphs just kind of reach out, and when I get frustrated and flustered, I just go back to these 3 paragraphs because it reminds me of what I had to do, what I need to continue to do, and what will happen if I do it. And so this is on page 25, and it's called "There is a Solution." Almost none of us like the self-searching, the leveling of our pride, the confession of shortcomings which the process requires for its successful consummation. But we saw that it really worked in others, and we had come to believe in the hopelessness and futility of life as we had been living it. When, therefore, we were approached by those in whom the problem had been solved, there was nothing left for us but to pick up the simple kit of spiritual tools laid at our feet. We have found much of heaven, and we have been rocketed into a 4th dimension of existence of which we had not even dreamed. The great fact is just this and nothing less, that we have had deep and effective spiritual experiences which have revolutionized our whole attitude toward life, toward our fellows, and toward God's universe. The central fact of our lives today is the absolute certainty that our Creator has entered into our hearts and lives in a way which is indeed miraculous. He has commenced to accomplish those things for us which we could never do by ourselves. If you are as serious as alcoholic as we were, we believe there is no middle-of-the-road solution. We were in a position where life was becoming impossible. And if we had passed into the region from which there is no return through human aid, we had but 2 alternatives. One was to go on to the bitter end, blotting out the consciousness of our intolerable situation as best we could, and the other to accept spiritual help. This we did because we honestly wanted to and were willing to make the effort. Guys, and that's all there is to it. Just trust in Him, have that spiritual, just work it, and it's the best thing that you could ever do. So God bless and thank you.